Yeah, so I'm re-recording this video because the last video of this that I recorded, there was music on it, and it didn't sound good on cell phones apparently. So I'm just going to re-record it like this, off the cuff, talking into a microphone, looking at pictures. So here we go. These are two different types of queen excluders. This is a plastic one. That's a metal one. I prefer the plastic ones. I prefer the plastic ones that look like this. It's a gray version of it, and I like it because it lies flat on the over the super, and it creates a nice seal. Whereas the metal ones, it's like a little tiny, almost like a little ridge. And even though they're more robust and all that, they create a big gap between the supers. And in Newfoundland, that's not so great because we get horizontal rain a lot, and rain can actually get into the hive like that. Not a big deal in the summertime, but if I had to pick one though, I'd pick this gray plastic one. It's floppy. You can't leave it out in the sun; it'll warp. Things like that. And it can break. But if you take care of it, like I've had some for over 15 years, and they're still going strong. So I like those ones over the metal ones, but the metal ones are more robust. If you're probably commercial beekeepers would use the metal one, but anyway, I use the plastic ones. And then there's a white plastic ones that I've seen too, and I don't like those ones as much because, and it's just a little thing, but it's because this ridge, they don't fit perfectly. Like this one, the gray ones, this little ridge on the edge, it goes right to the edge of my supers, and it fits perfectly over my standard 10 frame supers. And this one, it's like it doesn't fit perfectly on the edge of the supers. Like the super would be right here and over here, so it's slightly too small. But everything else is fine, but it doesn't sit as perfectly on the over the supers. And something as small as that can make a big difference when you're in the middle of your beekeeping and you need to put a queen excluder on and you're sweating and having a great time. You just need to get it done. So I like that one over that one, and so that's that. And I prefer it over the metal ones. But so yeah. Anyway, I'm talking about this because today yesterday, somebody sent me an email asking if they need to use a queen excluder as a second-year beekeeper in Newfoundland. And in Newfoundland, yeah, the first year you don't need a queen excluder because you're just building up your colonies from nukes that you probably got sometime near the end of July. But once you have a fully established colony that got through the winter well, and they're in the spring and they've built up and they're ready to blow, yeah, you want to put a queen excluder on them. I would anyway. You can follow the open brood method of beekeeping, which is no queen excluder, and so the queen can just in this example, the queen can just would be the brood nest is normally on the bottom of the hive. They usually build the brood nest on the bottom. But without a queen excluder, that queen can just go up wherever she wants to, and that's called an open brood nest. And people go with that sometimes because as a way of preventing swarms, because the theory is that a robust queen is laying a lot of eggs will easily fill up the brood nest area, get congested, and they'll swarm. But if you leave enough space, they won't. That's been my experience. I started off beekeeping using a queen excluder. I was getting swarms all over the place. I stopped using a queen excluder. I didn't get as many swarms or swarm cells with the open brood nest, and I guess that's okay. But I think what it is, at the time when I just wasn't managing my bees as well as I do now. And now I know, like when you in the spring when I set up the brood nest, basically you don't, it doesn't need to be full of honey because they're building honey up here, right? So you can just get that queen down there, put all the brood in the middle, put pollen on the sides, and put some honey on the sides. But there can be a lot of empty frames in there, a lot of drawn comb in there. And then they will immediately either build honey, put honey right above the brood nest, and they're fine. So all summer long, you'll have the queen laying eggs. It should be a self-sustaining system of the queen laying eggs down here, going up, moving down. They hatch out, and by the time she gets to the bottom, she just hatches out, and it's just a perfect system. And they'll take honey from up here and some honey down there. So that's what I do. I've settled on that after starting with queen excluders, doing the open brood nest thing for a while, and then back to queen excluders because when I did the open brood nest thing, the queen would be here, but once in a while she'd just go bloop. And the theory is that the queen won't cross what's called the honey barrier. So if this here box is full of honey, she won't naturally want to crawl on honey. She won't go up there. And that's true most of the time, but not all the time. And sometimes they'll clean out a frame in the middle, and the queen will go up. And so I've had that happen where the brood nest starts down here, the queen scoots up here for some reason, and starts laying eggs up here. And then I'm going through my frames, the honey frame, just to check out how much the honey is coming along. And I find the queen up here, and she's laid a few eggs, and so I've got brood up here, all the way down here, all over the place. So then I don't know where the queen is, because she can be anywhere. So I settled on just making sure that the brood nest, or the brood chamber, as some would call it, is set up perfectly down there. I use 3 mediums, which is the equivalent of 2 deeps. But some people use 1 deep, but 2 deeps or 3 mediums should be plenty, I think. And as long as you give them space, they shouldn't swarm. Like, give them space up here, they'll clear out the space down there, and you shouldn't have any issues with swarming. And I haven't. Since I've been doing this, since I've switched to this 3 medium brood chamber with a queen excluder up top, I haven't had any issues. Now, there might be certain queens that lay prolifically and can't be contained within 2 deeps or 3 mediums. And in that case, I guess you'd find out, right? And then you just give them more space. But still, this is why I like the queen excluder, because once I set that up, once I know that queen is laying well, then I just don't have to worry about her. I just put that queen excluder on, and they're off to the races, and I really don't need to check on them for the rest of the summer. I'm at the point now where I can gauge what's going on down in the brood chamber by looking at what's going on up here. So that's what I do, and that's why I do it. Other people will tell you that queen excluder is a honey excluder, but it isn't, because here it is. Like, here's the queen excluder on this hive. This is, ignore this. This is actually just before I was harvesting this honey. But I put an escape board right there. That's an escape board right there. But before that, this was all just honey supers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 honey supers above a queen excluder. The bees came in here, and there's no top entrance anywhere. It's all bottom entrance. The bees come in, and they easily squeeze through that. They had no issue going through that queen excluder and making me tons of honey. So, well, it happens. I see why it happens. Why people think that a queen excluder is a honey excluder, but that's usually because they're doing 2 things wrong. One, they're jumping to conclusions. They think that the bees won't build comb in their empty honey supers because they won't go through the queen excluder, but they do. First of all, if you want to get your bees to build comb in an empty honey super or an empty super above the brood nest, just put it on top of the brood nest. Don't put a queen excluder on, and they'll eventually go up there. Once they've built, say, 3 or 4 frames of comb up there, then you can put the queen excluder on and make sure the queen is below the queen excluder. And if there's a few eggs in that honey super, they'll just hatch out and backfilled with honey, and you're off to the races, and it's no big deal. But sometimes you just need to leave the queen excluder out of the empty super while they're building fresh comb in that super, if you want to do that. There's other ways to build comb. You just stick it in the brood nest. You can pull out honey frames from the brood nest on the sides and then put a blank frame in there, and they should build comb and then honey on those frames, which you can then lift up if you want to do that. So just leave the queen excluder out of the hive until they've built that fresh new comb, and then you can put the queen excluder on. But usually what happens is people who say that the queen won't go through the queen excluder like this, or not that the bees, but the worker bees don't go through the queen excluder and therefore won't build any honey in the honey super, it's usually because they just don't have enough bees. Once the queen has laid enough eggs and there's a population of bees in there to do that work, to build that comb and to make that honey in that empty honey super, they will just go right through it, and that'll be the end of it. That's usually what happens with my bees, and you can clearly see these bees had no problem getting through the queen excluder. Basically, that's it, right? It's just the queen excluder and honey supers, and off we go. That's my long rambling version of queen excluders. So someone told me that they saw a video on Facebook where the guy said, "Don't use queen excluders. My bees never go through queen excluders." And maybe there's some kind of strain of bee that for some reason can't squeeze through a queen excluder like every other honeybee on the planet does. And maybe there's some weird strain of bee that just doesn't want to do that. I acknowledge that possibility, but I've never seen that, and I've never. I just think it's unlikely. But I can see why people jump to that conclusion, though, because you put up a honey super above the, especially as new beekeepers, they put a empty honey super with no drawn comb above the queen excluder, above the brood nest, and the bees don't touch it for weeks. Like 2 weeks later, they just haven't touched it. There's a few bees just mingling about, but it's most likely because there just isn't the population of bees in there yet. If you put a hive, like I do this all the time, I put a queen excluder over a colony that's just busting loose, and they have no problem walking through the queen excluder and making honey. But at the very least, like if you're really paranoid about it, like I said, you can just don't use the queen excluder until they have built comb in the empty honey super and have started to build comb. You can also attract them through the queen excluder by putting fresh comb or something up there that's attractive to them, like even a frame of brood. Because if you put a frame of brood up there, they're guaranteed they're going to go up there. So sometimes you might need to entice them a little bit, but generally, they'll just leave the queen excluder out, let them go up, and then once they start building something up there, and then just put the queen excluder on, or just wait for the population to grow. Because it's easy to think that the bees won't go through the queen excluder if they don't have the population, if you're not patient enough to watch them do that. And I think that's what's happening when people say queen excluders or honey excluders. There's thousands of, not that having thousands of people doing something makes it right, but I think there are thousands, if not millions, of beekeepers who have been doing this for decades using queen excluders, and it's not an issue. So my feeling is, yeah, go ahead and use queen excluders, because it's just comforting to know that the queen is down there safe below the queen excluder.